Hey guys, welcome back. So we're jumping back into Avengers Assemble for part 9, which means we only got one issue after this. So from here, expect to see a lot of Jason Aaron tying up loose threads from a lot of the stuff we saw in Thor Volume 5, as well as the 2018 Avengers series. So with that said, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping back in the moment where we saw Avenger Prime, the All Loki, struggling in his matchup against the Doom Above All. Like we saw when he told Earth 818 Tony Stark he was already calling for others to join the fight while he was facing Doom, which is what then brought in the addition of Galactus and his Cosmic Herald Kazar, where again, like we talked about, these are callbacks to Avengers issue 50, Legacy issue 750, which at the time, if you guys remember, that issue was super packed because Jason Aaron was just unloading a ton of different plot points for what we would see come back later on. And we're given more of that here, with yet another on your left moment as Gorilla Man radios to Captain America that he's now arrived alongside of Ursa Major inside of the Deathlock possessed progenitor. And this is one of those things where I imagine you guys are on either side of the fence. Where on one side you might be like, hey, better late than never, and on the other side, some of you just might be like, hey, better never than ever. And it could be the chance that some of you are seeing this and you're just completely confused. And if you are, I totally understand. So to make sense of this really quick, let's start with the Deathlock progenitor, because this is something that's picking up from what we saw in the Death Hunters event when the Doom Above All attacked Avengers Mountain. We got Red Panther for a moment, and one of the Deathlocks who were with them, who were sent by Avenger Prime, failed at his attempt to awaken the progenitor just seconds before it exploded after the attack from the Doom Above All and Kid Thanos. And I have the link down below for the full story for anyone who may have missed it or needs to get caught up, because at the time we were teased with the idea of that Deathlock's consciousness laying dormant in the progenitor and eventually coming back in some capacity. But of course, before that happened, we got Judgment Day, which did its own thing for a while, but it also created the situation to where when Judgment Day concluded, Avengers Mountain needed to be restored so that the events from the Death Hunters could continue and bring us here. And on top of that, with us seeing the return of Gorilla Man and Ursa Major, this actually goes a little further back to Avengers issue 46, I believe it was, back when Gorilla Man made this whole deal with Dracula, where he gave Dracula what he wanted. In return, Dracula was supposed to relieve Gorilla Man of his curse of immortality, but with him making this deal with both Dracula and the Winter Guard, Red Widow from the Winter Guard ended up betraying him by attempting to kill Ursa Major instead. And at the time it looked like she actually did, but a few issues later, in the super packed Legacy issue 750, we found that Ursa Major was then in a coma recovering, and in the case of Gorilla Man, he had learned his lesson while also gaining a new appreciation for life. So jumping forward to now, this brings a number of things into play. Because now that Ursa's better, both him and Gorilla Man are close and looking out for each other, and on top of Gorilla Man's new perspective on life, he's now joining the fight with all the other Avengers, with the hopes of this being a step towards redemption. So yeah, that's the whole backstory to the Deathlock possessed progenitor showing up to the fight, which now brings us to this big moment where all the heroes come together with the addition of their special guests so that they can all let out one great big Avengers Assemble. And it's kind of like on one hand like, yeah, everybody here, you're an Avenger no matter where you're from. But at the same time, you can see Galactus all the way up in the corner looking like, I'm just here because my herald told me there's gonna be something to eat. So as soon as everyone's finished with the Avengers Assemble, Galactus goes after Doom the Living Planet. Just like that one person at Thanksgiving who can't wait till the prayer's done before they're reaching for some food, because that's Galactus here. Because there's no hiding the fact that he came here to eat, and he just might take a plate. And also with all the heroes coming together, it's set up to be like this huge payoff for the people who have been reading all the stories leading up to this, whether it was Avengers Volume 8 with the stories of Avengers 1 million BC, or Avengers Forever with all the different origin stories of the variant heroes from across the multiverse, and even some of the stuff from Thor Volume 5 with us getting the return of Old Man Phoenix. This is Jason Aaron bringing all of this stuff together, and not just for the purpose of this great huge battle, but also to tie up some loose ends. Because when it comes to the Avengers, and especially Thor, Jason Aaron has had quite a few things floating in the air for a while, so you guys will notice much of that being cleaned up in these last couple of issues. But going back to the battle, we get this moment where Mephisto's pretty much just laughing at the whole Avengers Assemble thing, and I don't blame him. But he goes on to tell the heroes that they're too late, because as he continues to pound on the God Quarry, the power from beneath is already seeping through, which is creating another problem that we'll talk about in a little bit. But it's right here where the Deathlock progenitor lets off this huge blast, hitting Mephisto and taking a chunk out of his side, which lets us know like, okay, yeah, this guy is a huge help. But right after this happens, as we see Mephisto just eating his own guts, which are actually, if you look closely, the other Mephistos that he absorbed to get to this size. But as we see him eating them, he's just like Mephisto assembled. As he eats all these little Mephistos, gets back up with his health restored, and he's right back in the fight. And now it's kind of like, man, like I get it, but still, that's wild. And right now, with Avenger Prime being able to focus on the Doom above all, we find that he's been able to once again gain the upper hand. But it isn't long before the Doom above all lets him know that Mephisto was right about their whole Avengers assembling being a bit too late, because right now, he's already begun to draw from the power seeping through the cracks of the God Quarry, which then kind of gives us this reveal when Mystique, the Dark Phoenix, comes back, who again is highly pissed at the Doom above all for abandoning her and the Masters of Evil. But this quickly turns into this thing where we find out that there was a lot more going on between the two of them than we were led to believe throughout most of this. And it really doesn't lead into anything significant here as far as what these two have been doing, but Mystique returning to the fight, it does end up playing a significant role in just a moment. But before we get to that, we hop over to Robbie Reyes, the All Rider, and Brandy Selby, the Starbrand, who right now are both just kind of watching from the sideline while this whole chaotic battle goes down, because like we saw up to this moment, both of them went through this evolution / burnout in their own kind of way, with Robbie needing time to recharge and Brandy having the whole situation to where the more she uses her powers, the faster she ages. And as they're sitting there talking and just watching, it comes to the point where they both pretty much realize that they've given too much to just sit back and watch now. So they both power up and head into the fight, knowing that it just might actually kill them. And in the case of Mystique, the Dark Phoenix, with her returning, this right here just shows how ridiculous Jason Aaron wants to be with this story. Because between the Dark Phoenix and Old Man Phoenix, as well as Maya Lopez Phoenix, all of whom who are really using the same Phoenix from different points in time, they all come together to face off, with it being Maya and Logan versus Mystique, of course. But just before they get into it, and Mystique is talking about how she's gonna drain their power as well. Just before they get into it, Mystique is hit from behind by this huge fireball that came from the Phoenix from the Avengers of 1 million BC. And now it's kind of like, okay. But really with seeing this, I truly believe that this is like the swan song to whatever it was Jason Aaron was intending to do with the whole build up to the Phoenix being Thor's mother. Because like we saw, that mystery got derailed quite some time ago, back in God of Hammers I believe it was. And following that, we got the Avengers 1 million BC one-shot that pretty much served the purpose of cleaning up the conspiracy by showing us that not only is Gia still Thor's mother, but it also went a bit further and added the extra touch, with us seeing baby Thor being frozen because of Laufey's attack, followed by the prehistoric Phoenix saving him, in what was more or less a ceremony of rebirth, with baby Thor's revival that kept Thor's true mother as Gia, while still managing to include the Phoenix into the equation. And I say that this feels like a swan song because when the prehistoric Phoenix gets here, she's just marveling at how Thor is grown up now and how she's followed his sounds of thunder across the heavens. But I can't help but to think that there was a lot more that Jason Aaron wanted to do here that he just didn't get to. But from here, this leads to the two of them combining their power, both fire and thunder, in an attack aimed at the Dark Phoenix that really looks like something the fire god Liu Kang would approve of. But when they strike Mystique with all of this power, she goes down, hitting the God Quarry and releasing even more of the entropy that Mephisto was after, which now more or less has him like, well, thanks, y'all saved me the work. And from here, he takes just a drop of it, which I mean at his scale it's just a drop, because I mean he's calling it a drop, but he's already huge. But after absorbing this power, Mephisto grows even larger and more powerful, to where now he's dwarfing the Deathlock progenitor and Galactus as well. But this causes the heroes to come to the realization of what Mephisto has truly been after. Because with everything he's done up to this point, they believe that Mephisto wanted to get to the God Quarry so that he could rewrite all of existence, only to find out now that that's not the case, because Mephisto would much rather destroy it all instead. And now with Mephisto powered up and the God Quarry compromised, releasing the ocean of dark power that contains the remains of the first firmament, this now puts us one issue away from the conclusion where we see who comes out on top. And that's either going to be the Avengers, Mephisto, or the Doom above all. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/Dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.